Hello, it's Shane here from ComX and Morgan. Hey,
Good
Morgan.
evening.
On the AusComX Show. I'm going to get that right one time. We're here tonight to talk with Leigh. We did schedule it with Leigh and Tam, but Tam couldn't make it. So we're talking to Leigh Chalker himself. And so, yeah, let's get on with the show, Morgan.
Sweet.
Hey, Leigh.
Hello. How are you?
Good,
thanks.
dude.
How you doing?
That's the
I
way.
didn't get
Now,
thrown by the silence this time.
I apologise, mate, to you guys and anyone watching. Tamara has been caught up in work stuff today, rather inundated. So you've got me. So I hope I can represent both of us to the best of my abilities. So fire away, gentlemen. Let's have it.
All right.
Well,
you got any
I'll start.
preamble? Yeah, you go.
I was just going to say, we've got this comment just came in. This is from Mark. He got his first Battle for Bustle from the ComX Shop, safe and sound. Woo!
Awesome. I hope you liked it, mate. Thank you.
All right.
Hello, Isaac.
All right. Are we into it? Are we doing it? Because I'm going to go
doing it. Sorry.
super deep today. Tonight. We're not really going that deep. All right. So let's just start. I did have one question, but I'm going to skip over that and get straight to it. Battle for Bustle.
Yep.
Where did the idea come from? Where did it originate? The main idea for Battle for Bustle, or what was the first idea that kind of birthed it for you?
Long gestating, mate. Well, obviously my dad was a comic book collector, and he and I used to collect comic books together and share and read and swap and all that sort of stuff. And so I guess I always loved to draw, and I just used to draw characters while watching movies and stuff, like all the great 80s movies, man, or the late 70s, the Star Wars, the Highlander, the Dune, anything you could get your hands on. And then I just started developing more of my own characters and just plucking away at them and drawing vehicles and getting better and trying to get my head around angles and that. And I had folders and folders full of characters, and I tend to jot story ideas down in really quick notes. Sometimes they can make a lot of sense in a paragraph. Other times they're just like 10 or 12 points scattered over 4 or 5 pieces of paper that are jammed into a plastic sleeve, if you know what I mean. So you can come back to them and look at them. And then my dad passed away in 1998, and one of his things was for me to always pursue artwork, and I'd had a love of comic books for such a long time that I developed a story at the time which was called Drive, and I wasn't going through the best, part of my life, being 20, 21, and your father just suddenly disappears when you thought he was bulletproof, and you'd left it, with your mum and by yourself and stuff. Yeah. So I just got lost in the theaters of my mind, and I started this idea. Drive was really, I found myself just going around to places in Townsville where, the family and I and Dad and I had spent a lot of time pondering life as you do, and, trying to get your head back into the game. And it was about a similar time that I went on a voracious reading spree. Read like the Bible, if you can believe that, to understand things. I went through the entire Lord of the Rings series, the Belgariad, the Dune saga, the whole Roman Empire, like went back into medieval English history and stuff like that. I don't know, man. I was just at the time looking to absorb anything I possibly could, I guess, to, I suppose spark myself out of some semblance of sadness. And then about 12 months later, Drive went from a 24-page comic book of like single splash pages with, conscious of thought, into the artwork, and, started developing curls and things and went on a real artsy-fartsy thing. Then at the end of 1998, I realized that I had something with some characters and a story that I wanted to say. And I have always been a fan. Some may like it, some may not, but I guess the everyman sort of idea of the downtrodden, but somehow finds through constant kicks and constant, boots and stuff like that, they have their moment, but they get back up. They just keep coming back, man. They keep coming back. So at the time, I was thinking about this. I worked at a pretty major company, which I won't name. And it was at the time where they started, you didn't just write your timesheet. You actually clocked on with your finger, the finger scanner and stuff like that. And then they started dictating to you that you had to do it. Even if you were at work 15 minutes early, you have to scan on, like within 1 minute to the point, you know what I mean? Or you lose, blah, 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 this sort of crap. So I started thinking to myself, man, the world's becoming a bit odd like that. So I don't know, man, for 10 years or so, I just lost myself in the story. And obviously at this point I was developing other stories. But Bustle always shone out to me. There was characters in it. It just had a real family feel. Heroes and villains on every side, like it offered me an element of, I almost felt like I could get everything that was in my jumbled mind over that period into one of these characters. So
right.
I guess a part of me's here, part of me's there, and I developed them to a certain extent based on people, family, and friends that I knew at the time, because I thought to build character, I guess I thought at the time it would help if you had a template of what you thought someone's personality was or what their particular traits were, their likes, like their, hates, that sort of thing. And, mate, it just kept developing. And then in 2009, I sat down with about 4 or 5 big ideas. I've got them all sitting over here, big folders, like Battle for Bustle. I've got, honestly, about 60 issues all worked out.
Yeah.
But I chose Battle for Bustle for that familiarity with Dad and the familiarity that I thought that, it'd be a good way to exercise some demons, I guess. So as I was doing it, I realized I love detailed artwork. I particularly started getting into, I loved a lot of the 60s and 70s stuff. John Romita Sr. really sticks out to me. Jill Kane, a lot of that Marvel sort of era. That's what Dad liked. The 80s, I loved John Romita Jr. when he came through. Obviously you go for that Frank Miller stuff. Todd McFarlane was a bit of a, mind blow, when he came out with Spider, his version of Spider-Man. Yeah. Eric Larson, Sam Keith, then you had Sandman, then you had, and I started thinking to myself that, like, wow, comic books, are a perfect medium because you can keep them pop, or you can go psychedelic, you can go full on heavy metal, you can do whatever you want with them, really.
Yeah.
So then, I just absolutely devoted, characters were designed 95, 96, story developed for another 10 years, and then 2008, 2009 I hit it, and I haven't looked back. I've probably done 400 or 500 pages worth of drawing. Not just story wise, but splash pages, anything I can do. Just I focused on these characters for so long that
That's really cool.
The downside of that was that I lost track of other people's, the enjoyment of speaking to other people about what you do to create and stuff. So I became isolated, I guess, and brought out Battle for Bustle issue 1 after I damaged my back, and just put it out, see how it goes. Matt Shane had the beautiful opportunity to, get over a few little idiosyncrasies that I had in my creative process. And over the last, 12, 18 months, I had the utmost pleasure of, meeting you two, other people out there that, I know. And it's been a really cool journey. It's issue 4 of Battle for Bustle is about ready to drop in the next couple of weeks. We're at the printers currently, aren't we, Shano?
Yes, we are.
That is a copy of Battle for Bustle issue 4. So
I'll bring up the bigger picture.
Beautiful, mate. So
you can flick through the pages there if you wanted to.
Oh, if you wish me to.
I'll zoom in on you.
All right, bud.
Nice.
So, while we're doing this question,
Gotcha.
Having read issues 1 to 3, I'm probably not the only one thinking, do you have plans at any stage to release an art book with some of the sketches that you've done, splash pages, thoughts, exactly what you're saying, almost like a stream of consciousness, not necessarily a narrative, but just a place to compile all that together? Because I, for one, would be very interested in purchasing that particular item if it ever came up.
Well, probably not so much specifically an art book, but now that you've mentioned it, that's probably a pretty good idea to think about.
Yeah, that's what's going through my head now as well.
Yeah. So thank you for that, Morgan, because I hadn't thought about that track. But strangely enough, once issue 4 comes out and early next year, depending at time, gets away on us sometimes with life and that. But the goal is that in the early 2022, issue 5 of Battle for Bustle is ready to go. Just needs a few touch-ups and me to fix up the cover. I am currently compiling. I've probably got about 50 or 60 pages of images through all the stuff I've done, even going back to the original sketches of Hanson and Hibiki Gecko and stuff like that I did in 94, 95. Lots of thoughts, original script that I did while I was scratching over thumbnails. I've got ad-lib stuff. I'm trying to find the best stuff because what Shane and I are hoping is to compile the first 4 issues of Battle for Bustle into a collected trade paperback. And one of the strong things that I wanted to do was have quite a lot of pages in the back to give people, I guess, some idea of my train of thought, because a lot of time does go into Battle for Bustle. I know I probably come across as a bit of a laid-back, beer drinking, cigarette smoking dude, but I take great care in my art. I take great care in and pride in Battle for Bustle. It's my baby. So, for those that are interested, I wanted to give a bit more of a serious delve into my creative side instead of not so much of a larrikin nature.
Oh, yeah.
And there you go. So, along the way, that's the next thing now that he's brought that up. Along the way, I don't actually remember where I came across the Lloyd. Settle down, buffet. That's my dog. Sorry, people. They're having.
I thought that was your stomach. So it's good that there's an
no, mate. No. Oh, my girdle's on. The safe is locked. You can't hear anything. There's beer and stubby, beer and potato in every stubby. So whatever. Or a vegetarian. Like chicken schnitzel. There you go. I think it was about 2011, back when, internet, I guess, was dial-up and shit. I sort of came across a post by Darren Close looking for contributors to a Killaroo comic that at the time, I'm not sure if it was called Gang Wars or if it was just for contributions. And he I sent some sample pages to him, and over the course of a period, worked on things with a different writer, and got the thumbnails, did my thing, and I was lucky enough to be in Killaroo Gang Wars issue 1, which
nice.
Yeah, which seems a long time ago now, but I guess that was my first delving into seeing how my art would go, and then I just sort of went back on the Battle for Bustle train, and just with a sort of renewed vigor and confidence in my artwork and stuff, and just followed that until I came to the last couple of years after a back injury, and sitting at home on Friday nights, Saturdays with mates. They'd be having beers, I'd be having beers, but I'd be sitting there drawing, much like I do on a Friday night drink and draw, and times to myself. And they'd be like, "Wow, Helly, you like drawing, don't you?" "Yeah, man, I do," And, so that was how Darren fits into my timeline. So it's hard to believe that was such a long time ago.
So question, and I'll take it a slightly different way. What can you do? Because famously you're a fan of black and white.
Yep.
What can you do with black and white that's different to what you could do with color? Like, what's the benefit that you see out of black and white? Or just why does it appeal to you more than color?
Morgan, I wouldn't necessarily say, like, I'm a fan of black and white. Everyone knows that, and I do like paint.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily say I prefer one to the other. I love them in both mediums and however they're presented, I think my love of black and white basically... when I was younger, I came across an issue in a second-hand store in Townsville, because you used to have book exchanges and second-hand stores that have comics in boxes. And
I had the same thing when I was growing up. Yeah.
And randomly in Townsville, if you can believe this, I came across issue 2. I think it's issue 2. I should remember this better, but I've since gone on and bought the other issues in trade paperbacks. But issue 2 of The Crow by James O'Barr, and that was one that I guess sat on the bedside table for a while I belted through my Uncanny X-Men, and as we do, like back in the day. And then I came, I've got to read The Crow, and I read The Crow, man, and it just blew my mind. I love the sheer contrast of the negative spacing, the confidence that he had with, like, black is black, white is white, but not necessarily using them so they could intersect, and become a picture within themselves. And at the same time, I sort of discovering this and leaning towards black and white and loving it, I came across, Lone Wolf and Cub, a huge omnibus of that from the Japanese comic book from years ago, and read that and was like, whoa. And then Frank Miller's Sin City started coming out, They call it The Hard Good Night now. But when I was reading it, it was just Sin City, and I think it was in Dark Horse Presents, if I recall correctly. It's in the boxes somewhere. And I was sitting there and I was like, man, damn, that dude can make black and whites work. And then I just went on this crazy, like, as you do when you get a favorite band, what's their back catalog? So suddenly I decided, righto, what's the whole black and white comic book world catalog? And at the time, I was already into 2000 AD, so getting a touch of black and white, amongst the colors. Then I just went back and I started discovering the old Savage Sword of Conans. I started coming across, like, an absolute ton of Australian comics that were black and white mostly at the time. I'm just trying to think then, more recently, I guess the black and white thing, I've just kept getting hit by it. Like, there's Blade of the Immortal. I mean, there's so many things that are beautiful about it. But I have a love of painting too. So while I was learning how to do black inking, because inking's tricky, like it definitely is, because I don't sort of see inking as tracing for me. Some people would go, are you tracing? No, you're not. Because for me, when I do my stuff, I feel like I'm painting, because I love painting. And I can sort of veer off to let you know that I had a pretty bad back injury in about 2017 that knocked me 18 that knocked me around for a long time, and I was really quite unsure about myself. I couldn't sit down for a long time to draw. Difficult to stand up to draw, you know what I mean, for long periods of time. So what I did find easier was sort of getting an easel and painting just to keep in that, you know, the flow and things. And then I fell in love with like abstracts, you know what I mean? Like I'd always had a love of Pollock with paintings, but then I discovered, you know, like, oh, I don't know, man, I just went crazy on art really. And then I started thinking, if my back got better, how would I incorporate painting into inking? What could I do that would take it away from, you know, just being, I guess, black and white following lines and stuff? And then I started coming across like the grey shade dudes, you know, like you got people like Wrightson that use hatching for, you know, like to get their shadowing right. I mean, my God, man, the list goes on. But I guess I'm black and white. I love black and white art, man. I paint the covers though, so I'm not completely out of the color realm. It's just that at this particular point in time, I guess I'm trying to push what I can do with my black and whites as far as I can go. It may get a bit hit and miss from time. That's how it is, you know, like sometimes I get a bit, but I just got to put it aside, man, and just move on to the next one. You can get bogged down in that stuff and just learn. Black and white also allows you to cover up a hell of a lot of mistakes that can stand out for people that, you know, want to know a truth, because you can bollocks up a foot, a hand, whatever, and depending on the scenario at the end of the day, and because paper's not cheap, pens aren't cheap, ink's not cheap, instead of throwing that page away, you can look at it and go, well, I could change that by putting the enemy's silhouette in front of him to take that weakness of that, you know, figure away, or that physique and stuff. And that helped me out a lot, man, back in the earlier days when I was trying to learn it, you know, how to better myself art-wise. I probably saved a lot of pages that way. So there's strengths and advantages in everything, I guess, man. It's just the path I choose. So
nice.
And one of the aspects of your artwork, certainly in the black and white stuff, is just the level of detail. The amount of artists is quite common from what I hear. Love doing the character work, cannot stand doing the backgrounds, you know, because there's a lot of work and lots of stuff. But your stuff, you pick up every single page is so detailed and the feeling I got when I first started reading was this intensely claustrophobic, because a lot of the themes are around, you know, cameras everywhere and being watched and all that. And it was this amazing sense of like, I feel everything is on me and that I'm right there with the character, and the character feels squashed and oppressed and everything like that. But part of the tool that I think you used to do that was just the sheer volume of stuff that was there, and just the layers, like going back, you know, geographically and what you can see in the frame. Anyway, I'm gushing a bit now, sorry, dude. But yeah, that's another aspect I think, and that adds something to black and white, where it's not just, you know, two layers over the top of one another, but there's all this depth that you manage to get, even though you are only using, you know, black and white essentially.
I think every you know, some of you that don't know me very well, me particularly, myself personally, don't really show enough attention to detail in the things that you probably should in life. When it comes to my artwork, I show everything I can, you know, because even if you're looking at a building, I never understood the shortness of time and deadlines, yes, but I don't really have that with Bustle. I can just put into this story and what I want in the background. And I always used to hate things like empty windows. I used to hate things like, you know, a TV screen with no picture on it. I mean, like, seriously. That just used, you know, there's things that just grate you. And then the missed opportunity by those people being pushed for time, because I started thinking that TV could be showing exactly what that person, you know, like, and trying to collate the perceptions and what you can do in the back, and just how you can use things, man, to tell the story.
Yep.
I don't think modern comics, to me, I don't read a lot of them. I get a little bit frustrated with, here I am, and there's the silhouette of a tree in the background, and then there's a few words. I loved, you get there it is, it's gone. Half a cigarette. I've read a $12 comic book, thanks for coming, mate. And it was I loved when you could go to the comic book shop, pick up comic books, you go home, you've made your yard, you bathed your dogs, you've done whatever. You've got that moment of the week where you're like, man, this is my 3 hours and I'm reading my stack, and you get them. And, the opening smell of the page, looking at the artwork, just going like, wow, reading the ebb and flow and finding yourself absorbed in it, and then finding it half hour later, like, wow, that took me half hour to get through that comic. Damn, that was good, So I guess I want people not just to flick through it and put it down and thanks for coming, Leigh. I want people to take the time. And hopefully if they read the second, third, or the fourth issue, they realise that in those issues, hang on, this ties into that had a point back in that issue of what that panel did. So they may go back to the start and reread it, because the comic book is actually designed as a straight story. It's from page 1, it's continual, goes along. There's no chops and changes and big, massive time differences and stuff like that. It just flows. And I just want, comics are a beautiful medium, man. And I get a bit frustrated, I guess, that people find them so throwaway. So,
hey, Joe.
G'day, Joe. I was hoping that people would hopefully not put Bustle, B for B aside, maybe come back to it. So I guess that's why I'm so detailed.
Have a few times.
Yeah.
They're here because of it. They're right in the portal. They're right in the portal. We've got a question for you from, I think they're asking if Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, have you ever read that? That's one of their fave black and whites, they said.
No, I never have whacked comics. For that, I apologise. But Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, I will write down on a note, a piece of paper, and check it out immediately if that is a recommendation. Always love to look at new stuff.
And this is a recommendation. Can you read that?
Yeah, I can read it from Duncan, Tokyo Ghoul.
Yeah.
All right, I will. Thank you.
He reckons you'd appreciate it.
Yeah. He's a damn good artist, that Duncan Prenovich.
Oh, yeah.
Good fella, too. The old Russian wrestler, aren't you, mate?
Yeah. Hey, Alex.
So this one's a bit of a tricky one, I think, for you and for this project, because it's so expansive and because you've already thought through so much of it. So normally I would ask, about the protagonist. If you could sit down with your protagonist and give them some advice, what would that advice be? Maybe we would have to limit it to the first 3 or 4 issues, because obviously that advice might change later on, if what's going to happen as well. So might be a bit trickier.
Which protagonist, mate? Because
that's the other issue.
I've done the comic book, I've tried to make even the heroes the villains and the villains the heroes to an extent. So
yes, you've done a good job of that too, actually.
I guess I would say thank you, Shane. I guess I would say there's 2 protagonists for me. And the first one would be Christopher Battle, who is allegedly the hero of the story. And the second would be the character A1, who they're both opposite sides of the spectrum. They're both, I guess, doing their job, living their lives, and have sort of been brought forth into, a situation that probably got rather out of hand in hindsight, as you go through the story. So, yeah, I think Morgan, I don't know, mate. They just
down with both of them.
Yep.
Let's say you've got both of them in a room. No guns. No guns.
Is there a glass between us because I don't know if I want to be in the same room as those two.
Maybe behind screens or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a hard one. Yeah.
I guess you could say to Christopher, don't take the action that destroys your family. At the same time, I guess you could say to A1, why were you why were you just so over the top about your reaction and your vendetta against this character when it realistically wasn't something that was over the top? You know what I mean? It was just a man having a moment where he lashed out at someone he shouldn't have, and it could have, I guess, been given a fine or something. But people take things to extremes. So I suppose A1 did ignite it, and due to the subjugation of the masses and the fact that the distaste for the authoritarian society and city of Bustle they lived in, I guess the pedestrian masses, just they saw that as the spark, and it went from there. So, mate, I try to, that was really it, Morgan, I'd say. And honestly, that's all I could say to the two of them, because there's a big part of me that's just like, oh, man, I don't know what to say to you people out there, but I can't wait to show you guys, man, where these characters go. Because if you think it's, unusual now.
So this is the thing. It's done in black and white, but it's one of the least black and white stories out there because the characters aren't black and white. There's more going on, and you have empathy for characters you normally wouldn't, or say in a modern cinematic whatever. They tend to be a bit more that way. But there's so much color to the characters and depth, and so many of them as well. And anyway, let's take a little bit of a side shuffle, unless. Sizzler, you got any questions you want to throw in before I go to the next one?
No, we just asked if we're familiar with Fortnite, but I don't think we would be.
The computer game?
Fortnite comics, that is. Yeah, apparently there's a comic.
Okay, so let's go for a little bit of a detour into June. So question first of all.
Yep.
Are you aware of this dude? He's a really weird director, and I'm going to mess up his name. Jodorowsky.
Alejandro Jodorowsky. The guy who did something about the mountain and all that sort of crazy psychedelic 70s.
Super weird.
Yeah.
Super weird. And he was trying to do the original Dune movie.
Yeah.
But it never took off the ground because money and all that sort of stuff. And then David Lynch, of course, did it. Yeah. But he had, I think it was the artist Mobius that did up storyboards for the whole thing. And there's this legendary book where he has this whole thing. I saw a documentary on that, and while I'm watching that, I'm thinking of, actually no, it was the opposite way around. While I was reading Battle for Bustle, I was thinking of that because the way Mobius did his stuff, it's a different style, but I see a lot of similarities with that, and just the storytelling and the structure. There's no point to that. I just wanted to know if you knew about it. And then just to get to Dune, let's talk about your love affair of Dune and how that plays into this stuff.
Deeply. My favorite book in the world and book series is Dune. The David Lynch 1984 movie absolutely to this day horrified me, and I was like 5 or 6 at the time watching this, okay? It left me amazed, horrified, still with vivid images of Muad'Dib riding Shai-Hulud, the sandworm, when, like after he's taken the waters of life and all this sort of stuff. Just brilliant moments. I love the detail and the depth of Dune into the characters, and that no character was a throwaway. And I loved that. And once I discovered Dune and I started thinking about that, that's where I started veering off into like Roman Empire stuff and like, medieval England, the kings and the, the sieges and all that sort of thing. And got a realization that there are a lot of characters in all of these stories, real or unreal. And I guess we're all, we're all full of so many influences where sometimes I guess we don't even know how deeply ingrained they are in our mind. And Dune's definitely a massive part of where Battle for Bustle and the thought started. It is absolutely nothing like Dune, but the character, the depth of characters, even someone that's sweeping the sidewalk, there's an element of you can see what that person's gone through, or just by the wear and tear of them and stuff like that. So Dune for me, I'd recommend anyone reading Dune. I'd recommend reading it and then go out there and find your own version of it, because the Denis Villeneuve version of Dune just came out, part 1 recently, which is quite spectacular in its own way as well. Very glorious and wonderful. So yes, Dune, that's my thing. Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, I found it at school, just in the the teachers. You got to pick a novel, and was in the Ignatius Park Catholic Schoolboys School library, and I found it, and it had I think from memory, the second version of it or something. Soft cover page, big, thick writing like that big, you know what I mean? You can barely see it. So you're sitting at night reading this stuff. Pages are all yellow and motley, like someone's poured coffee on them and stuff like that. And just loved every minute of it, man. And that really gave me a boom. This could be done. It just again, comics don't have to be pop. Comics they can be anything, man. Electro, rock, heavy metal. It's like you can be as loose with them as you want, as long as the passion in the story, your artwork, what you're trying to do is there. Hey, you know better than. None of us are any better than anyone else. But you know what my granddad used to tell me? Each of us is just as bloody good as. So if you believe in a story and something that you're passionate about, then you shouldn't let anyone stop you. And that's what I realized about that time. And thank you, Morgan, for bringing Dune up. Actually, I do love Dune.
It's always good to talk about Dune.
We've got a question. Oh, sorry. We've got a question from Gary Challoner. In contrast, what are your thoughts on Tolkien?
Oh, I love Tolkien. I've read all of those books. They were some of the first ones that were given to me by a fantasy loving reading uncle who's my godfather. And I've read the Silmarillion, I've read the Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit, I've read the appendices, I've read all of the, not all of them, but at least half of the books by Christopher Tolkien that he tried to piece together, like all of his dad's writings and stuff. And then I will have to say, one of my top 5 books, people may disagree with me here, but I think it was 2007-8, out of nowhere, Christopher Tolkien put as near a complete version of a classic story that his dad wrote, with illustrations from Alan Lee. Alan Lee's another damn good artist too, that dude, and John Howe from the Lord of the Rings guys back in the day. And and the book was called The Children of Húrin. And a little bit hit and miss, because you could see where it wasn't complete and things were missing and stuff like that. But goddamn, to this day, I would say that is the saddest book I have ever read. I actually, I sobbed after reading that book, man. Read it voraciously. I'd recommend that. So yeah, Mr. Challoner, I do very much greatly appreciate Tolkien. I got a lot of his stuff up on those bookshelves there.
I'll just answer this one for you. There is no Kickstarter for issue 4, Leigh from Whack Comics. There is no Kickstarter. It's being printed directly and released directly.
So where do they go to get it?
They can go to Shane.
Well, they can go to me at ComX.shop. I've got to get better at promoting that.
It was right there. You literally just had to tap it into the hole. It's sitting there.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, you can get it through Shane. Reach out to either one of us. We'll get you copies, so all can be sorted.
Just going back a little bit, I was going to ask this off the top because I have heard rumors that your creative process when you're putting something together and walking through that. You've spoken about sketches and putting all the ideas together, but how do you actually go about acting out, if you will, the scenario? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he knows exactly. I know what you're talking about as well.
Yeah. Damn that Spencer. And my bloody mouth. Sometimes I just find myself in a bit of a quandary with doing the thumbnails and things, because you do try and get different angles and, you're trying to follow a pattern of movement. So you're just wondering what's right. And sometimes I just have in my mind, like, I know where I want the point of view to be looking, but how do I get there? And sometimes I just find it a little bit easier acting out where the character was to how they could get there and seeing how they are in that position and just standing there and looking and just getting an idea of, righto, this is basic pose, this is what I want to do, so I'm going to have a crack at it that way. That's really it. That's how it came about. Like, Tam will probably tell you some funny stories that she's often over the years, I've been down here in another room doing artwork in other places we've lived, and she's just come in to see how I'm going, and here I am standing there, like Karate Kid crane pose, like with a camera trying to take a photo of myself and stuff, to get a pose, and she's just like, and close the door, and walk away, and like just sort of, okay, whatever, man, like if that's how you're doing it, if that's your process. But I guess, man, I don't really think of myself as theatrical. I just do whatever I've got to do to try and, I guess, implement the best opportunity I can to get what I'm trying to portray down on the page. So that means jumping around and trying to take a photo of myself and looking like a buffhead, then it's paid off a couple of times, I can tell you. It's like, but the photos are quickly deleted. Don't you worry about that.
That was going to be my next question. When is the book of the photos going to be released?
No,
that's going to be my question.
Well, no, to answer both of your questions, no. Yes, all that might cost a very pretty penny if that ever came
out. So before we get to we'll go to the penultimate question series. If people wish to donate Indian ink to you, how would they go about doing that? Is there a special place they could go to buy some ink, support your enterprise?
Mate, you go to ComX Shop and you go to battleforbustle.com. And if you buy comic books, I can get ink and I can continue to give you like Battle for Bustle. So there you go. I guess it's up to you guys if you're interested in reading or not, which I certainly hope you are, because it isn't. Yeah, it's all of my oddities rolled into one. So it's and the best awesome I can do. So thank you.
It is, it is great, and it's also from the first page you can just see how much effort is put into it and how much all the things you've been talking about, they're all in there, and it's one of those ones that you, like you said, you can't just read it once. You just keep going over and over and over because there's so much.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you find things the second time around. So yeah.
Well, that was the goal, mate. That was the goal. So I'm glad that you guys also feel like that, because I still find things in the artwork when you go through pages that you got organizing things, and you look, then I date all of my artwork because it's like my diary. And sometimes I can remember parts of my life and where I was by looking at the pages from that, day, month, year, that sort of thing. And sometimes I come back to those pages and I know it's me But I wonder where I was at that point that I thought about that twist in the story, or what I was thinking about when I was drawing it at that time. So, it's been a long process, and excuse the pun, but sometimes it has been a battle, wondering, pushing on through, thinking that it's worth it. But like I said, sometimes if you believe in something, you got to just take a chance, man. And that sometimes taking a chance is taking a chance in yourself too, and you got to just get out there and do what you can do and make yourself feel happy, because that's what it's all about. Spot
on. All right, so we're up to the last question.
Yep.
The most frivolous question of the night. Favorite food watching your favorite movie, what would they be? This is what the nation wants to know, by the way.
Yes, everyone wants to know this. This is why people tune in for this question.
It's probably not a healthy option, the way that I'm going to go here, and I probably
usually isn't.
No, I probably wouldn't want to influence kids, but I'm going to split that question into Morgan, somewhere where I can drink beer and smoke cigarettes, mate, and I'll worry about food when it gets later into the night after the favourite movie. So.
Fair enough. On brand. And what if you had to pick a movie? I mean,
it always depends on your mood, but in your mood right now.
In my mood right now, I'd probably go for Dune. After we brought it up. But there's been others over the years that have struck me just as hard on Dune. It's just that I was a young fella and I'd never seen anything like it, But there's other movies that I've seen that have left me just as touched and moved and, devastated and stuff. But
Sharknado. I know what you're talking about.
Oh, Sharknado 5?
Dude, seriously. Mate, I watched them all back to back one night. Like, come on. That, man, like, honestly, that was the quickest time of my life. I couldn't believe where it had gone. Like, I looked at Tam and I went, my God, like, where did it go? It was the same. I was so excited and on the edge of my seat. So, yes. For all those Sharknado fans, sorry.
They're all tuning in. All right. Well, are we up to the gift then, Cyril?
Yes, we are. Well, I'll just quickly answer the other Leigh, not you, the Leigh's question. Yes, Leigh lives in Townsville.
Yes.
And if just a very 5-second thought here from Leigh to Gary's last question.
I like Stephen King.
Nice answer. Okay, so now let's go to the gifts. I will start with Morgan's, who's done a beautiful picture of, and this.
Oh
no,
Morgan.
You can see that?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I know exactly who that is.
And that was freehand too. That wasn't trace, that one. That was legit freehand.
Yeah, that's legit.
That's a good one, mate. Thank you.
I'm impressed by this
Hansen one. I can't think of too many other times he's looked any better, mate. So, like, good on you. You're a champion.
Are you going to mention the special feature there, Morgan, or you want to leave that to be found by accident?
Yeah, if you look closely, some of the anatomical arrangements of the guns are a little bit sus in the middle there, but that was purely intentional. Anyway.
Look, don't worry. Several people have wondered that question. Like, is there an area of his body that doesn't have a gun? And perhaps that's one of the dark questions that get answered in one of the later issues of Battle for Bustle. We'll leave an air of mystery over it.
Now, I will warn you, this was not intentional. I had no idea what Morgan was drawing.
Yeah, completely independent.
Completely independent. We've rocked up with pictures at the same time.
You two are awesome, man. Look at that.
So easy for you. And I did something special for this one. I know that you are a huge fan of traditional, so I decided to not whip out the iPad, and and I went paper and pencil for this one for you.
Oh, mate,
Look at that.
that's great. Thank you.
Now that sounds really romantic, but really what it was I couldn't be bothered turning the iPad on, and oh damn, I've ruined my own thing.
No, that's beautiful. Thank you.
I'll be sending that to you in the next parcel.
Awesome, mate. I look forward to that one. Going in a frame in the granny flat. Awesome. Thank you.
Oh,
Right.
So I guess it's the part where we say thank you, Leigh. Thank you for tonight. It was great having you on. Thank you for your insight into your creative process. And
All good,
yeah.
mate. Thank
It was
you
a real
for
pleasure
having
having
me.
you on. It was a real pleasure getting to know you a little better than I already knew you.
Thank you,
I actually
Morgan.
learned a few new things tonight.
Thanks, dude.
Well, you know, full of secrets, mate, you know. Not really. Just buy the comic and you'll find me out by the end of this year. Awesome. It's been great, man. Thank you, both of you. Awesome time.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Pleasure, man. Pleasure.
Thanks, man. So I guess that's the see you, Leigh, and we're off to the next section. Have a good night, buddy.
See ya.
Morgan! It's that time of night when we review the comic that we were meant to read today. And I did.
Yeah.
I did this time.
You did.
Well, actually, I
You
sort of cheated. I read one that I'd read quite a while ago, and I skimmed it today to try to remember the story, if that counts.
Right. Well, you did one better than I did, but that's right, because I'm changing mine right now in honor of the discussion we just had with Leigh. I'm going for a black and white one instead of the one that I was going to do.
Oh,
Right,
mine,
yeah.
by total fluke, mine's black and white.
Aha. Are you going first or
So
am I going
I'll
first?
start. Yeah, I'll go first.
You
I'll go
start?
first if you
All
want. Okay, it is the Crystal Saga. I'll boost my screen up.
Ooh. Oh, that looks nice.
The Crystal Skull Saga, sorry. And it is part one, which is flawless. Sorry, a bit of a glare there.
Nice.
And it's I'll zoom out from me. Yeah, so it's a cool little story by it was written by Nate Odger. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong, Nate. It's Odger. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I'm not used to that word. And the artist is Rico. And as it so happens, Rico came over to my house today, and I'd only read this on PDF. So now I have an actual physical copy, which I skimmed through before the show. It's a cool little story. It's different. It's sort of, I don't want to ruin it because it's a bit gory in sections. Like there's your typical, throwing the guy into the lake all tied up and beaten up and stuff. Can you see it there? Oh, hang on, other side. There.
Other side. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's got a bit of gore happening. There's a lot of detail in the pictures. There's a bit of mix of media, and but there's a supernatural element to it. I think you probably get that from the cover with the weird tentacles. Well, that weird creature comes into it, and there's just a lot of death and mayhem. But it sort of leaves you guessing, wondering what's going on. So I am curious what happens next. So, but I haven't read there's a lot of text as well, which I haven't read. So I'm a bit slack. I've only read the comic itself, which probably gives a little bit more detail into what was going on. But yeah, there's demons, supernatural. The story itself doesn't have a hint of, well, unless I skimmed over pieces I shouldn't have, but it's all supernatural to me. But the picture looks like, kind of reminds me of Hitler. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. When I looked at the cover, I thought it had something to do with the Nazis. But yeah, it might just be the haircut. Sorry to discriminate people in their haircuts.
Yeah, not everyone with a little tash and the thing over there is Hitler, dude. You know, come on, it's 2021.
Yeah, I know. I'm a stereotyping little bastard. But I will add.
Is that Hitler? Sorry.
Yeah, no. This will be going into ComX.shop next week.
Oh wait,
So
I was just going to ask, where do you get it from? There you go. Okay.
There is nowhere to get it from until next week. except for conventions and so forth. Rico takes them to conventions and sells them off his table, and fates and stuff like that, and markets and things like that. So
cool.
Up until now, that was the only way to get it. I spoke to him today, and we're organising to put it into ComX.shop as of next week.
Sweet, nice. All right, so for mine, I'm going with. And I'm going to get the name. There's a few ways you can say this. Now, is it
Maurice in the Metal?
Maurice or Morris? Is it Morris or Maurice?
I've always been saying Maurice. I could be saying it wrong, though. I'm horrible with names. I'm like shocking with names.
Maurice in the Metal. So it is black and white. So the story is
awesome. Sorry, I've read this one and I freaking love it.
The story is basically this dude, like 80s style story, dude who puts on a Walkman, and if he's listening to heavy metal, he gets super strength and powers and kablam and all that sort of stuff. Really, really fun, really, really cool. It's quite a chunky, like a decent size book as well, so it's not a small issue. Sorry, I'm trying to turn at the same time. So
do you want me to boost you up? Sorry.
Oh, it's all right. Can you see me leaning my head to try and get it that's working, right? There's also some really cool stuff in the back. Really cool artwork. Oh, yeah, I just went to...
Oh, yeah, nice. Other way, that's it.
Yeah. Some really, really cool artwork all the way through. Really good concept. I love the idea. Not just because I'm a music person, but I just like the idea of an object, a thing that, you know, a quirky thing that gives you sort of power or strength or the ability to do something a bit different. And the Walkman, you know, if you're a kid of the 80s, who doesn't love a Walkman? So that was my choice. Great fun read, really, really cool idea. And black and white. Like I said, I was going to do a color one, but I instead, went for this one in honor of...
Awesome choice. And I'm just writing a note down now to talk to Aaron about getting that into my shop.
There you go. See, everything that I do is to help promote the shop, whether I mean it or I don't mean it. It's all for the shop, for the kingdom.
I just realized I've been ignoring comments this whole time.
Oh, yes. Love Morris and Metal. Yeah, really cool indie.
Oh, sick. Hey, SK.
Hello.
Yep. See, we've got fans. Everyone's loving it. Aaron did a very good job of promoting that and getting it out there. A lot of people know about Maurice in the Metal. So, yeah. Hats off to him for that. I'd love to get some tips from him, actually.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think I might do up a new ad for the shop now that we're getting a lot more stuff in there. I'll do up a bit of a longer ad maybe with some more stuff because the ad is like what 5 seconds or something.
5 seconds.
Here it is. Go and get it. That's it. So yeah, we might do a bit of a longer one with that one.
It's a whole 10 seconds. It is 10.
Is it 10
seconds?
10 of your best seconds. Okay, well that's
10 best seconds.
That's okay, I guess. But there's no like thematic music. There's no kind of like waves in the background, and then a ship comes into shore, and then there's like a demon creature standing on there with a. It doesn't have any of that.
We'll have to let the people decide.
All right.
Sorry. Good to say.
So I thought you were going to get people to vote or something. So
no. I was just putting it up there.
Throw it out there. There it is. Go and get it, people.
Well, while we're talking about your ads, and we've got like a minute to go before we hit the hour, I'm going to throw up the other one because I love this one.
Oh, sweet.
Are you feeling a little down? Tired of reading the same old books again and again? Looking for something different? Why not head over to the ComX Shop now and pick yourself up some freshly inked inspiration?
Inspiration.
I forgot I did that one. That
was awesome. That one.
Did
I
you
love
see
that one. I had to.
The cough, the sneeze. That made me laugh so hard when I did it that I had to stop halfway. That was the funniest thing in the world to me. It's a baby's sneeze, but anyway.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. It's not that dude. It's a baby sneeze over that dude. That was hilarious. That's the funniest thing ever. Anyway, that's a good ad. There you go. Look at that.
That's an awesome ad. So everyone, ComX.shop. Check out lots of indie artists, indie creators, I should say, because it's not just artists. Creations are in there, ready to sweep up and buy all at once, because we have a special deal that if you're in Australia, it's $9 postage for all the comics you want.
Yeah.
So buy me out of stock, $9. Go for it. I dare you.
Sweet. Gone fuzzy. Don't go fuzzy.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've gone fuzzy. What's that all about?
By the power of Grayskull. Focus.
Focus.
That's all right.
No, it doesn't know what to focus on. We're at the end. It's all good. You made it this far. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you again to Leigh, even though he's not here. That was a great interview. That was a great little section chatting with him. I had a great time. Learned a few extra things I didn't know, so that was cool.
Yeah.
And I learned that Morgan likes Dune as well, because he was straight on to that question.
Yeah, man.
Cool. Well, it was a great night. Thank you very much, Morgan. Thank you to everyone watching. And I need to go to the right screen. I do this every freaking time. See you later, man.
See you, dude. See you guys.